Good morning, everybody. Delighted to have everybody on the phone for EVA user group meeting here today. It's actually been a while since we've had a meeting with you guys. Doesn't mean things haven't been going on here. We just finally have some, the last couple software releases we had been some kind of internal stuff as we're kind of cleaning up and constantly working on our house. So we're excited to have some user-facing things for you to talk about today. The one announcement I did want to make is we do have 2 new staff members on our team, and they're with us this morning, and they're actually going to be speaking this morning, which is great. Some of you might have known Sandra Stanley. We call her Sandy here as well, or some of us do. I assume she's okay with that. But Sandy was a customer care, worked in the EVA customer care group for us for 4 years? 5 years?
5 years.
5 years. So it was a 5-year employee of EVA Customer Care, and with Tom Gilbert left us quite a while ago, actually, to move back to Michigan. When we reposted for that position, we were delighted that Sandy was able to nab that position and is now our catalog manager for EVA. And Sandy's actually going to be talking to you today and showing you a quick demo of the vehicle punch-out. So delighted to have Sandy to continue to be a part of our team and now on our functional core team. The other new employee we have who will also be speaking with you this morning, she's going to be talking about some new functionality in our future procurements module, is Lisa Kirby. Lisa joins us as our advanced sourcing tools lead. I hope a lot of you have gotten a chance to meet Lisa at the procurement forum over the years, and I also hope a lot of you have gotten a chance to meet Lisa as she has come to your facilities to roll out and demo and hopefully eventually train you on contract management, e-procurement, advanced VBO, all of those fun advanced sourcing tools. I know we've had a really large effort with that basically since the last forum we've been at. And Lisa, since she's joined us, has taken a big role in that. Lisa came to us from DARS, and we are also delighted to have her on our team. So without further ado and not holding up, you'll hear from me a little bit later on in the meeting, but to not hold up our progress here this morning, I want to turn it back over to Kim, who's going to, I believe, turn it back over to Lisa.
Yep, we're going to get started. Everybody who is joining us with the web portion of the meeting, you'll be able to see the different demos we're going to provide. If you just have the phone portion, unfortunately, you just get to listen. But you can always watch, again, the playback that we're going to post on the Knowledge Center this week following the meeting. So let's go ahead and dive right in. I'm going to turn it over to Lisa to cover our first topic, which is future procurements.
So with the latest PIM that came through, they've added some information that requires people to also post government to governments and out on our EVA website now. So we have improved our future procurement tool to allow people to post those. In order to get to the future procurement information, you're going to go to iBuy for Virginia and scroll down a little bit. And underneath our tools section, there is a section for future procurements. The future procurement section is unique to EVA in that you do need to request a separate login. In our user guide, we go over that section and what you need to request from your account executive in order to have access to post future procurements and those government to government procurements. And it also goes into detail over instructions on how to use the tool as well. To log in to future procurements, your link is right here. And if you click this link here, it will take you directly to your login screen where you would log in with that new login for future procurements and government to government procurements. Also here we have the view future procurements link, so anything you have posted to future procurements and government to government, you can go in and you can access and see what you have posted in the past, what other agencies have posted as well.
Thank you, Lisa. All right. So that was future procurements. Again, sorry for the technical difficulty. Hopefully everyone is successfully able to hear us and see us. The next topic that we're going to cover is the new vehicle punch-out, and I'm going to turn it over to our other new team member, or new position. She's been with our team for a while, and Sandy Stanley is going to cover that information for you.
All right. Good morning. So first of all, you would go ahead and get logged into EVA, which I'm going to attempt to do now. And you'll head on over to the e-mall. And then when you go in to create your requisition, add your title and click Next. That'll take you to the catalog home screen. Once you're on the catalog home screen, in this search box right here, you can go ahead and type vehicle and then click search. And once the search results return, you're going to go ahead and click on EVA Vehicle Contracts under DPS Vehicle Punch-Out. This will get you into the EVA Vehicle Punch-Out configurator. So here's our home screen for the vehicle punch-out. As you can see, we have categories on the left. So you would choose the category of the vehicle that you would like to purchase. I think we're going to go ahead and go into the 1-ton pickup trucks here. Okay. And then it gives you the choices that are available. So under the specific category, you would select the vehicle that you would like to purchase. And depending on the vehicle that you choose, you're going to have options and deletions to choose from. You're going to see these here. We can choose different options that we want to add to our vehicle. And then there's also the option if you want to choose more than one. Keep in mind that would be one with these particular options you're choosing. If you wanted one with the cab steps and one without, you would have to add an additional vehicle to your cart that would have other options than what you're choosing for this one. So we'll go ahead and click Add to Cart. On this screen here, you'll see your order along with your options that you have picked for this particular vehicle, and you'll go ahead and click the Checkout button, and that takes you to your order review screen. On this order review screen, the shipping charges are actually calculated for you, so you will not have to figure them out on your own. And you'll see that here along with the order total. And if everything looks right on this review screen, then you can go ahead and hit Next, and that'll bring your items over to EVA for you.
Hello.
Okay. And we're just going to go ahead and take a look at the cart, because I did want to point out that shipping is going to be on a separate line item. We actually are getting our shipping for free here because we're not going over the mileage that's allowed. And our cab steps that we ordered, that option there is a separate line item along with the roof clearance lights. So you can see that. And then you would go ahead and click Next like you would with any other requisition. Complete your accounting information. Click Next again to add any comments or attachments that you may want to add before you hit Submit. I do want to make mention that with the vehicle punch-out, you do not have to complete and attach the spreadsheet like you used to do when ordering a vehicle. And then once you're ready, you can go ahead and hit Submit.
Sandy, real quick. Hi, everybody. This is Shane. Can you let us know what, not all contracts are currently available on the punch-out, though, correct?
Absolutely. We are going to be adding more contracts very soon, but currently we do just have, I would say, a good handful of contracts out there and available. And if you're on the state contracts page, you will see highlighted in yellow the contracts that are currently available in the vehicle punch-out.
Great.
So since we sent the EVA Extra out about the new vehicle punch-out, have we added additional contracts beyond the 4 that we had listed there?
We have actually added a few school buses, and those are available in the punch-out at this time. And
Great.
very soon we're going to be adding more.
Great.
Fantastic.
All right, thank you, Sandy. So hopefully everybody enjoyed taking a look at that vehicle punch-out catalog, and you are going to take advantage of using it if you are indeed responsible for placing those vehicle purchases for your department. Okay. We're just going to back out of this information that you're seeing, and Shane's going to talk to you a little bit. I'm closing it. You're going to drive? He's smacking my hand, y'all.
Good morning, everybody. How's everybody doing? Hopefully good. Let's see. Let's just get logged out of this. I want to talk real quick, and I've got some other folks in here who are also heavily involved with this next topic I want to cover. But the topic I want to talk about is the home button set, Kim, where this will go right back to the EVA homepage.
Yes.
Do you know?
Mm-hmm.
Perfect. Okay. The topic I want to chat about is a topic I think some messaging has come out from Jerry and Greg. Did you guys send messages about this, about the DEB contract construction forms? Yes. So you should have gotten an email, or somebody in your organization hopefully got an email about the new requirement that has come down from the General Assembly that DEB is actually managing for us, or managing that this process about doing construction reporting. All right. Greg Brown and Jerry Stokes would have messaged, like I said, I hope somebody in your organization about this requirement. I just want to touch on it real quick, kind of take you to the website so that you can see the details. If you have no idea what I'm talking about, it's important that somebody within your organization pops out to the website to check out this information and read about what's going on. The biggest thing at this point is you want to get yourself signed up, or get somebody in your organization signed up to do this reporting. So let me drive you to it. The EVA team, we're playing a pretty big role, along with the account execs, of helping this process. But again, it's a DEB program, that they're actually kind of the owners of this program. So where you need to go to get this information, lucky for you, you can still get to it from the EVA homepage. You very quickly, if you go to EVA, if you've ever paid attention, in that top right-hand corner, there is a link to the Department of General Services page. Just very simply click that. That'll drive you down to the DGS page. And then from there, if you just hit the Division of Engineering and Buildings link on the left-hand menu, and then real big, right in the middle of the page, in blue and gray at this point, is the Construction Procurement Survey link. Very simply click on that Construction Procurement Survey link, and it's going to take you into the details about what's going on with the Construction Procurement Survey. It's going to reference the Code of Virginia and some other things that are going on. But basically, this area where you're going to need to go in and report different construction jobs kind of following these categories right here, A, B, C, D, and E. Again, the biggest thing I need you to be aware of today is that someone in your organization should be looking at this page, seeing if you qualify for this, making sure you turn in some sort of report for this program. Because the way this law is written, everybody in the Commonwealth is turning in some sort of report, even if it's what we call a positive no, meaning you will still fill out a form for your entity that says we have nothing to report. If you do not have anything to report that meets the requirements of this program. So I'm not going to dig into the minutia today, but I want to show you, again, get you to this page and show you an area you need to worry about. Number one, this main page that we got to, read it over, see if you fit that need. Number two, if you're, again, regardless of if you don't have to report or not, you still have to put in, again, what we're calling the positive no. You're turning in a very simple form that says I have nothing to report. So what do you or somebody in your organization need to do? You need to request access to input the survey data. All right? Very, very easy form. If you hit request access to input survey data, you got two choices. Are you state? Are you local? All right? And then if you actually want to receive a copy of the report, you can ask for that as well. For you folks that are state, you click that link. It gives you this form to fill out. We're going to give you access to the survey form just by filling that out. For local governments, same thing. You have a form you fill out. And what we're going to do is through EVA, there's going to be an e-form or a set of e-forms that are going to be available for you to report the survey data. So good news for all of you folks that are EVA users and you realize you have to do this, or actually I keep saying that. You're going to do it regardless because you're going to do the positive no form if nothing else. If you have EVA access, if you have access to the email, you're done. You just need to tell us you need access to the form. We'll get that set up for you and get you access to the form. All right? Very, very, very simple. The other thing, for more detailed instructions, how to complete the form, some of the rules and laws around it, look, there's a link that says detailed instructions. Awesome. You just click on that link. It gives you all sorts of instructions about why we're doing this, who we're doing it with, the procedures, all sorts of stuff I'm not going to talk about today. Again, I just wanted to point you in the right direction to get to these forms, all right, or to get to this area so that you can get yourself set up to do this reporting. Now, you'll notice the link that actually says input survey data. It's not ready yet. The reason why it's not ready yet is we're still crafting and finalizing the forms in EVA. They should be done by the end of July. We had a big migration this morning that's really, we think, I'm kind of looking at Gail Kemper, who's done a ton of testing on this for us. That's going to really clean up the forms for us. We are actually going to complete a little bit more testing on those forms today, and then by tomorrow, we hope. Maybe? Yes? All right.
We're counting on it.
All right, we're counting on it. Those are the words I like. We're going to be passing those forms over to DEB so that they can do their own version of UAT testing. They're going to do some user acceptance testing on their end to make sure they're comfortable with everything that they're seeing, assuming they are, and we're confident they're going to be. By the end of the month, we're going to migrate that to production. We are right now collecting the user data so that we know who to set up for these forms. And then starting probably August 1st, sometime the first week of August, you will be set up and available, and we'll be getting messaging back from our group again that you are ready to go and set up for these forms. Again, I think you're going to find the forms super easy to fill out. It's just an e-form in EVA. You're keying in some data, hitting submit, and you are done. Again, I can't stress it enough. The way this law is written, everybody in the Commonwealth associated with some sort of governmental entity has to do this type of construction reporting. There is even a form that says, I have nothing to report, that you need to submit if you have nothing to report. All right, to be in compliance with this law. Okay, so again, should be super easy, shouldn't be a problem for you guys. I know you can handle it. But again, EVA homepage, DGS website, DEB link to get all the details. And for those of you that have already reached out to us to get your user information set up or to get access, thank you guys so much. I know there's been a lot. We've heard from a lot of folks already who are getting set up. We really appreciate it. Makes our jobs easier to get things set up. But again, probably here next week, towards the end of July, first part of August, when things are ready to go in production, we're going to let everybody know. We're going to message you and say, reports are good to go. And I think you're going to find them real easy to input. So that's all I had about the DEB construction reporting. If you have any other questions after our next section, we're going to talk receiving, which I'm guessing is a hot topic today for everybody, or at least I hope it is, in a positive way. I'm in a big room with a bunch of people, and they all shot me these looks like, really, Shane? But we're excited about all this stuff. So receiving's the next topic. I think we're going to go. Gail first is going to demo some receiving stuff. Then we're going to bring on Sandra Gill to kind of talk policies and procedure and all sorts of fun stuff like that. And then we're going to take questions, which I'm assuming there's going to be some questions. So excited to hear from everybody. Great to be on the user group again, because I don't think anybody heard my introduction and hello. So hi. So good to see everybody, and glad we're here doing a user group. And I'll turn it over to Gail.
Thanks, Shane. Boy, that's tough act to follow. I'll tell you, if I could just have half his enthusiasm, I'll consider this a success. So what I want to do today is go into our test environment just to kind of walk you through some of the receiving pieces. And I know many of you agencies are already out there are doing receiving, and I do have some exciting news to report on that at the end of this little demonstration. But for those who are not totally familiar with how this works, I kind of want to just describe this. Recently, I'm sure that you've received from the account executives who represent your agency, you've received a receiving guide that kind of goes through all the details and information on what you need to know about receiving. And I'll kind of cover that just briefly here so you get a general understanding of some of those differences between different types of receiving that we have. But I just want to emphasize, too, the actual act of doing the receiving is quite simple. So I want to demonstrate that simplicity for you today, so you're not too concerned about what the impact will be for your agency. We really believe in having this functionality out there just to close out the order so people can see that something is in a final state. So we see a lot of benefits in implementing this. So let me get into our test system here. Let me try that one more time. All right, here we have our portal page, and you see in the left menu we have the email and the eForms link, which is the same place where you would go for the receiving piece. One of the things I want to mention here is there's several places that one can go to do the receiving. You see everyone has a manage section in their common actions. What we call this is a portlet or window, however you want to refer to it. But there is a receive link here that one can actually access to do the receiving, as well as at the top here in this purplish bar here that runs across under manage. There's a receive option there as well. Before I get into this, I just want to make a comment here about this news box, this portlet here. We're going to put an RSS feed link in here within a short time, I hope, that gives access to all the training guides that are available for the email. So I'm working on that also. So just keep your eyes peeled for that. So within the next, hopefully, 2 or 3 weeks, we're going to have a link there that will get folks access to not just the receiving guide, but to any of the email guides you would need, including perhaps videos that we're working on. Kim's working on very seriously right now to get some receiving video done. So that will help, as well as any of the guides that you might need access to. So let's go into the receiving piece here. This is a very simple screen. As I said, this is a very easy process to go through. But before we go into this, let me just explain a little bit about who has the access to the receiving. And I did mention different types of receiving. You might hear the terms desktop receiving, and you also might hear the words central receiving. And depending on who has what role determines who actually does the receiving. So if you know that you are in a BuySense org, and what I mean by the BuySense org is what division that you're in within your organization. You've heard BSOs. Many of you who have been in procurement for quite some time realize that everyone that is in the EVA system is in a BSO, which is nothing more than your division, your department in which you work. That BSO that you're in will determine who does the receiving. And what I mean by that is if there is a central receipt approver on your BuySense org, that means that some person or persons are in a role to do the receiving. If that BuySense org does not have a receipt approver, that means that it's desktop. And desktop means that whoever is creating the requisition, that the person who is the requester on that requisition is the individual who will do the receiving. So you as a procurement shop will need to know out there how you want to set this up throughout your organization. Whatever works for you is how we can set it up. It can be very custom that way according to your BuySense org. So you may have some BSOs where you want a central receiver to do the receiving versus other BuySense orgs where you want the actual person who does the purchasing and the requester to do the actual receiving upon the receipt of the goods. So you need to, for those of you who are just right in the crux right now trying to figure all this out and what's best for your organization, I strongly suggest you work with your account executive to find out what works best for you to make it the most efficient process. So in any case, anybody who does the receiving piece will have to come to this screen and they will actually just enter their order number that they wish to receive against. So I will go ahead and put in one here. Okay, here we have one P-card order that has 3 line items. And you can see the quantities that are showing for each of those line items. If I got something in-house today and I wanted to say I wanted to receive everything, I simply just say accept all. I click on that accept all button and you will see immediately all my line items are populated with the quantity that has been ordered. Suppose that I have, I'm in the receipt mode at this point, so I'm just getting lines item 1 and 2, but I actually got line item 3 yesterday, and I'm just recording all of them today. But I'm seeing in line item 2, as I look over my 5 items, I see that 2 are defective, or maybe they're broken, and I haven't yet received these 2 items yet, so I am going to backspace here, and I'm going to put 3 in here. And I'm going to record in the reject column 2. And this is an important point to make about this reject column, because this is what we have dealt with as the most common mistake. EVA customer care gets most of their calls on this, is that once receiving has been done and processed on a receipt, anything that needs to go back to the vendor, or if something is discovered after it's been recorded as received, that has to be handled differently as opposed to those that you're getting in at you've just upon initial receipt of it, you've determined that it is defective or it needs to go back, or maybe you're just you only need 3 and you don't really need 2 and you need to return 2. For whatever reason, you're rejecting it at the point that you're receiving it. So you would record that in the reject. Now down here, I just made the comment that I got these 5 yesterday. So I can actually come in here and remove the defaulted current date and simply put in yesterday's date. Or I just put in, whatever. it has to be after the time this order was actually created. So in this sense, I've got a situation here where I've accepted 10 on the first line, rejected 2 and accepted 3 on line 2, and then I've backdated the third line because it was not received today. So and I simply click submit. And let's see what I have here.
Rejection reason.
Oh, the rejection reason. It wants me to put in a reason why I'm rejecting this one, and it's hard to read that at the very top. But it'll always ask you what is the reason for rejection, and you can just simply put in defective item, whatever, and then you hit submit. And you can see the receiving has been done. Now, suppose you have a situation where you have the items that we mentioned that have already been received. So your requisition now is in received status. I want to demonstrate that example as well. Oh no, this is not a P card. This is an EP I want to show. All right, this is this example of a receiving that's already been done against this one line item, and you can see that you'll immediately get presented with a message that tells you that this order is closed for receiving. But if I need to send something back, or if I need to make a change on the requisition, it will be imperative that I come in here first as the receiver and reopen this order. So I simply click the reopen order button, and immediately those fields open up, and it is expecting some type of adjustment to be done on this receipt. Now, I accepted 4 of these one line item in the past, but I want to send one back now because I found out later after this receipt had been processed that there was something wrong with it. So what I need to do is go into the accept return column, and I need to put a negative number for whatever it is I want to send back. So I'm going to return 2 here, and what I'm going to do is click this submit. And what that does is it actually puts the requisition from receive status into receiving status. A new receipt shell is actually created in composing status because it knows that you have yet to receive the other 2 on it. It's backing out those 2 that have already been received. As I mentioned earlier, this is where a lot of receivers get in the ditch, in that they log anything they want to send back in the reject. And I know that can be a little bit confusing just by the word itself, but that's why I want to emphasize that this reject is strictly before anything has been processed as having been received. So I just wanted to make that point about the importance of you put the negative, anything negative after something has already been received, and you would click submit. Now, one thing I need to point out too, if you need to make a change strictly for other reasons other than the line item, what you want to do is leave this alone, okay? But you do, after you have already asked for the order to be reopened, what you need to do is click the exit button without touching anything on this line item, all right? And you want to save this request. And the reason you do that is that puts the requisition back into a receiving status, because as long as it's in received status, you can't make any changes on that requisition. So if you need to make a change to, for example, the accounting code or something that is not related to the line item, then this is how you would do it, just to get your rec back into receiving. So that way the requisitioner could go back in there and make the changes that they need to it. So the other thing to consider, though, is if you're doing if anything has an impact on the line item itself, if you need to change the unit price, if you need to decrease the quantity, you will need to back out what has formerly been received if it affects the line item. Otherwise, you do not. It should accept it. Once the requisition goes back into receiving, you should be ready to go. Now, one of the last things I wanted to introduce, to you and let you know also is that we have a great new functionality that this technical team is working on. Within the next few months, we are going to be testing the ability to receive by amount. And I know that a lot of folks are going to be thrilled to hear this, because what that does for a lot of you folks out there that are creating requisitions, it allows you to specify when you're creating that line item whether you want to receive by amount, and that way you don't have to flip the amount and put it in the quantity, which we have seen over the years. Because of the way that receiving works, and perhaps that you're getting invoiced on a monthly basis for a dollar amount that you're not quite sure about, this allows you to select at the time you create the item to have it received by amount. And this can happen on any requisition. It will always default to quantity. The assumption is that you will receive always by quantity, but if you know that you're going to be receiving by amount, this makes it very easy, and the screens are not going to look that different. It's just going to give you an amount field instead of a quantity field on the receiving piece, so it'll allow you to actually go in and receive, that easily by the amount, and it'll work the same way as the quantity. You will have to negate out the amount that you receive if you have to make any adjustments on any closed orders. So that's pretty much that in a nutshell, and I will be demonstrating this some more, and hopefully those of you who are attending the forum, I'll see you there. I'll see you at the receiving class, and we'll talk about some of this functionality, and I'll be able to demonstrate the amount field for you, so you'll be able to get a first row view of that at that time. So I know we're going to be moving into the Q&A section. I'm going to turn this back over to Kim, and we'll see where we go from that. Thank you.
Thank you, Gail. Remember that this playback is going to be available. We are also in the process of creating, like Gail said, some computer-based training, or what we call CBT, videos specific to this topic that will help any user who might be doing this for the first time or needing a refresher how to walk through these steps that Gail just demoed. At this time, we do want to move into the Q&A portion of the meeting. Because we didn't mute everyone's line, we'll ask if you do have a question, if you'll simply just say your name or where you're calling from, and we will give you the floor to ask your question. Anyone?
Hi, this is Vicki from the University of Mary Washington.
Hi, Vicki. You have the floor.
Hi, thank you. I have a question on the receiving, please.
Okay.
I'm thinking of if you are receiving an item, you receive 5 items, Gail, similar to what you've done, and you want to return 2 later to the vendor. You want to return them, but you also want to do a change order, so you don't want to keep that requisition open, that receipt open. Would you use that close feature that was underneath that line item and then do a change order to reflect the difference in cost?
Well, you're going to have to take out the -2 on that situation. So in that case, it will close automatically once you adjust your requisition down to the amount that you want. Does that make sense, Vicki?
So I'd do the negative number, then I would do the requisition change, and then it would automatically update? Is
Yes.
that right?
It will go back into receive status for you.
Okay.
Good question.
So also, Gail, we import our data in from EVA, and we receive in our ERP system, because that's how we manage our extraction onto the invoice on our purchase order. This would be duplication on our effort. Is there a reason why we would need to receive in EVA now?
I'm going to let Sandra Gill take that question for you. That's why Sandra's in the room.
Good morning, Vicki. This is Sandra.
Hi,
The decision to mandate receiving an EVA was a decision of the EVA Executive Steering Committee, and then it was issued in the regulations. There's a lot of benefits for receiving an EVA. One is obviously the transparency to ensure the change orders are done appropriately, and then ultimately to match the goal of matching purchases to payments, which is a code requirement that DGS, DOA achieve for the APA for data point. So receiving was part of the process. For agencies that are using EVA for placing their orders, and then potentially for agencies, and I cannot guarantee this, Vicki, but if you are already doing receiving in your system, there is the potential, if you wanted to submit a request to be allowed to import your receiving data into EVA in its entirety, then we could potentially look at that, and the EVA Executive Steering Committee would review that. Because you guys are already an interface agencies, you export out of EVA your orders into your ERP. If Mary Washington is determining that it's in the best interest to continue as is, you're certainly welcome to submit a request to us to consider. I think we're certainly open to that.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Great questions. Who else might have a question out there?
Yeah, this is David from Virginia Western.
Hi, go ahead.
You were saying when you did a change order, you had to delete the receiver out before you could do a change order for that line item. If you have a multi-line item order and you received all the lines and you only need to change one of the line items, meaning price, quantity, or something, do you only have to back out the receiver for the one line item, or do you have to back out the receiver for all line items?
You should only have to back out the receiving for that one line item. So you'll need to just first reopen the order and then get to that one line item and back out that particular line.
And then another question is, let's say you had an order that you were going to use for a year and you're going to make one payment every month. So you've already received 11 months, and all of a sudden the last month changes on that one line item. Do I have to back out the receiver for every month for all 11 items before I make the change on that one line item?
When you say you're paying it by the month, is that right? Are you actually have the monies in the quantity?
Correct. Well, I know I'm going to pay $1,000 every month for the next 12 months. That's a set price, set everything. So each month happened, but just so happens on the last month, the price is a little different, or the quantity I had to delete out because something happened, we didn't need it.
That's where we get into it gets a little hairy if the amount is not in the quantity field, all right? And if you have to change the actual amount, that affects the unit price. I need to be clear. I need to be clear here about that. When quantity is received, it is calculated according to the unit price, the total amount.
So David, when I'm sitting here hearing your scenario, you've cut one line with the unit of measure of month for 12 months at $1,000 each, right? So you get to month 12, and you realize it's not going to be $1,000, but it's going to be $1,250. For me, the solution would be to go in and change line 1 to 11 months and add a line 2 for the 12th month at the price that you're going to pay for that month.
You have to back out all the receiving first because it calculates all the monies according to what has how much
because
money.
they've only
If you
received
back-
11 months.
If you back 12 to 11 and then
It
add,
should be fine.
yeah.
Ooh, all
You,
right.
you haven't received the 12th month.
You can
You
change
should
that
be
line
able
item
to
down to
you
11.
just can't reduce lower than what you've received.
Right.
That's correct.
quantity-wise.
You are
Right.
right. And Jan was mentioning that's as long as it's not less than what you've
Right.
already received, you should be okay. But I'd have to actually see some of these scenarios because they come in all different ways.
Right.
So
So David, does that make sense to add a line 2 for month 12 and remove it from line 1?
I followed that very good.
Great.
One other quick question is, if I'm doing desktop receiving, and just so happens that employee's on vacation for 2 weeks, how do I get around doing a receiver so I can process the order when they're out of the office, since they're the only one that can do the receiver?
Does custodial care allow that?
You can delegate.
if you wanted to have a delegated person to do the custodial account.
We're kind of talking amongst ourselves, sorry,
Yeah.
group,
I
but
think
We need to kind of check that. We're questioning whether if you delegate, can you delegate your receiving authority? I don't think we can.
No.
Well, it's approval.
That's approving.
That's
but it's
approval. It's
but
not
receiving
receiving.
is approval based, and you would delegate, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, Marion Lancaster's pointing out, and so Shane, that receiving's our approval. So we'll run that test real quick.
We'll do it. We'll figure that out, and we have notes on this, right? That we're going to be posting.
If they have not delegated, the employee's gone, and now I want to receive, and too bad that they're not delegated. Do I have any choice at all for me to go in?
Custodial.
That'll be a
Custodial is the
custodial.
only choice.
Yeah.
And who's your account executive?
Angel.
All right, so we'll make sure that the answer gets back to Angel and that he can follow up with you.
And I'll cover that at the forum as well.
That's a really good
that's a great
scenario to
question.
ask about. My assumption. This is Shane here, guys. Receiving, just to talk some behind the scenes stuff. I'm giving a guess, and then Gail will test this out for us. And Marion, I think, was kind of going down this vein too. Receiving, for whatever reason, is actually an approval-based tool. The way the receiving is done is you're actually, from the email perspective, a receipt approver who has the ability to go in, key in the receipts, and then you actually approve the fact that you received items. I'm thinking the delegate, which works for requisition approval, might act the same for receiving. So we'll test it. We'll test it and see.
For receiving, but not necessarily for
Hey,
changing.
Sean, just a quick question. Why is it viewed as an approval? Just because most systems, receiving is actually an act of notification that I did receive it, not saying that I approved it, because whoever's approving it, unless they're there receiving the items with them, really can't say, truthfully, did they receive the items, yes or no?
Well, I don't want to, think too into the semantics there. Receiving is still an action. I mean, it's still an action that's recording the fact with the date of when something was received, and then your submittal of that is confirming that the item is received. I'm just talking about there's the engine that's driving that process is very closely tied with the approval engine that we use for requisition. So don't get too twisted around the axle on that. The actual receipt is a document. It's an RC, much like a PR, much like an EP or a PCO. The RC is a physical document with history, so you are taking an action and are time stamping and dating the fact that you have received something. So I don't want you to get too hung up on some of the other things I'm talking about that might allow us to delegate that ability out to somebody.
But we hear what you're saying in the fact that we do need to have the ability for someone to receive in someone's absence.
Yes,
and we will
correct.
make sure we figure out what solutions exist for that.
Correct.
And speaking of approvals, I just want to make the point also that whoever is doing the receiving, that receipt gets processed and approved immediately. So the receiver is actually the approver. So if you were actually to go in the workflow, you'd see them as the only approver. That's not to say, though, a receiver could not insert an additional approver on that receipt if they so desired.
Shane and everybody there, Kim, this is Becky Chauncey. I've got another question too. We have a lot of users that we are actually doing orders on behalf of, just because we've had to do that financially wise. So if I'm doing the order on behalf of Susie Q, who works in Humanities Department, and the way I understand it, she's going to have to receive that document, even though I did the order, right?
If Susie Q is in a BSO that does not have central receiving as the approver, then Susie Q will have to do that receiving.
Okay. Well, what was throwing me was on behalf of her, that I'm actually doing it on behalf of her and putting it on my P card or, processing it, but she's actually the one that's going to receive the goods or the service.
That's right. Anybody who is put into their on behalf of, as you know, those of you who do the purchasing, your name defaults in there, but anybody has a choice to change it to the on behalf of. The on behalf of then is the requester. And it's always the requester who does the receiving on desktop.
In desktop. That's the key. In desktop. Yeah.
That's what we're looking to do is desktop.
Well, remember, your agency doesn't have to be completely desktop or central. It can be a combination of BSOs. So if you have a group of users in a BSO, Becky, that you're buying for, you may want to make that a central receiving BSO and put yourself in that role, and you can do the receiving for them.
Or somebody else.
Or someone else.
Yeah.
Or multiple people can be in the receiving roles and receive the orders that they did on behalf of other people. So there are solutions that we just need to look at each agency specifically to help you determine what your needs are to best suit.
Well, I think my VP wants desktop receiving, so we'll have to look at that.
Okay.
Thank you all.
You're welcome. What other questions do we have out there?
Hi, this is Vicki again from Mary Wash.
Okay.
I have a question, please. I'm changing it from the receiving now, the custodial receiving, to just the custodial role completely. So if I understand correctly with the new security standards, if you give custodial stewardship to another individual, you have to remove the P card. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, so how do we process an order if we remove the P card and that's how the vendor pays it? I'm a little confused by that.
Okay, well, if the person has left, and it's basically, according to DOA, if you're using their P card after they've left, it's fraud.
What if they haven't left? They're just on vacation.
Unless they approve the order, you're not authorized to do it. So this is more about DOA rules than our rules. So we're just trying to support everybody here. So yes, you have a problem if somebody's out and you need to do a change order. The solution is pretty simple in logic, but it does take a few steps. What you need to do is take your P card and make the user that you have custodial care an authorized user under your P card. You go to that order, you do a change order, and at that point you switch it to your P card. It will cancel the first order and issue a new one. So a credit would be issued, and then the charge would be on your P card. Does that make sense?
You give
Yeah.
the original order access to set the P card up for the person who's vacated. Is that what you said? Is that what I heard?
Right. So what you'll do is, since you have custodial of Suzy Q, we'll borrow Becky's example. So Vicki, you log in to your account, you go to your P card, and you give Suzy Q permission to use your P card. Then you log into your custodial care of Suzy Q. You go to the order you need to change. You flip to your P card, and you can zip it on through, and you're not creating any banking fraud or any issues there. And then you can go back into your account and remove it after you no longer have custodial of her account. And it's turned back over to her, and she just sees her P card again.
I'll have to try that. How do I give Suzy Q the permission to use the card?
Frank can walk you through that.
Okay.
Real quick from a summary, you log in to your EVA account,
Right.
go to Manage P Card, and there's an authorized user section within the Manage P Card area on a particular P Card, and you enter their EVA user ID.
Okay, so if they're a deactivated user,
They're technically not deactivated because they're custodial
Yeah, they're
care
technically-
and you own the account.
Yeah, they're technically exactly what Sandra said.
okay. All right, thank you.
You're welcome. Who else has a question out there?
Hi, this is Betty Lowther from VDAC.
Hi, Betty.
And I have a question about blanket orders we may have set up, based on fiscal year. Obviously, the ability to receive by amount is not out there yet. So do we have to go in and flip-flop those so that the amount is in the quantity to do the receiving on those?
Hi Betty, this is Gail. If you are going to actually be doing something against those orders in the next few months, I would suggest that you do put the amount in the quantity field so you are going to receive by that amount, because you don't know what that amount will be and you just have one large sum. So I would suggest that you do that until which time, we get that amount choice in there, and then you can set any new orders up according to that.
Yeah, and Betty, right now the receive by amount functionality is scheduled to go into EVA production at the end of September. That's our current schedule, and last check on that is it was on schedule for the end of September. So that's kind of your time frame. We've still got a couple months before that's going to come in.
Okay, well, we'll go ahead and make those adjustments, but we're still struggling with which way to go. We have a lot of decentralized P-card users, so it's going to be a decision. We just have to weigh the administrative cost of how we're going to go about this. So I know we can work with Frank on that, but what concerns me is this is backdated to July 6th, and here we are, July 21st, and so we're going to be a little behind the curve on this because we really need to do some analysis to make the determination on the best way to go.
Betty, I can assure you there are no receipt police coming after you. As long as agencies are moving forward with implementing and solutioning it, and we're helping you through that process, there's going to be no dings. Okay,
thank you.
Yeah, don't worry about that. Take the time to make the right decisions, and then, there are no receipt police out there, I promise.
Alrighty. And I have one other question, then I'll let somebody else take the lead. On punch-out catalogs, you can't do a change order, so how does that impact the receiving if you've had a receipt posted improperly?
We're going to have to look at that, because I know you should be, once you decrease the quantity on the receipt, you should be able to go back to that punch out with that requisition that's in receiving status now and make the necessary changes you need to make. Are you saying that on the punch out itself it doesn't allow you to make changes?
Well, I don't do a lot of change orders on punch-out catalogs, but that's been my understanding, is that you couldn't do a change order on a punch-out catalog order. Is that incorrect?
Quantities. You can't. The price is fixed. The vendor's fixed.
Well, that's true. On that, it would be quantity only that you'd be able to adjust on that. So, we'd have to handle that on a case-by-case basis, Betty. But we're assuming that the price itself has not changed since the time that you did the original order. So you should be able to alter the. Yes. You should be able to alter the quantity.
The quantity, but not the amount.
Correct.
Right.
Okay. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you. It's at 11 o'clock, but we, like you said, it may run later. If we have additional questions, we are glad to continue to receive those. So are there other questions out there today?
Yes, I have a question.
Sure, who are we talking to?
This is Bessie from VCU, Department of OBGYN.
Hello.
Hi, I'm calling, asking about the DEB construction e-form.
Yes, ma'am.
For the university, is that requirement for the entire university, or is it by department?
It is for the entire university. I'm not sure how VCU will elect to do the reporting, but VCU is required. They are one of the universities that is required. All universities, even if they have level 2 or 3, are required to report. Brenda may have a little insight in the centralized purchasing office as to how they're going to handle the reporting.
Okay. Alrighty, and I have one more question about receiving an EVA.
Yes, ma'am.
We currently receive an EVA by banner. Is that still okay to do so?
You're doing your receiving in banner currently?
Currently, yes.
I think, again, we'll be working with the procurement office to determine how VCU will be moving forward with the receiving, if they plan to transition or are they going to request to do an interface.
Okay, that sounds good. Thank you.
Other questions out there? Going once? Going twice? All right, well, thank you, everyone. We're going to go ahead and wrap up the meeting now. We appreciate you taking the time to join us today. And again, the playback will be available later this week on the Knowledge Center. Have a great day.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you. Oh, it's like the bomb, Marion. Peanut butter chocolate.